India has begun the world's largest national population count. The results could reshape political representation across the country. The previous census in 2011 recorded a population of 1.21 billion. That figure is believed to have grown to more than 1.4 billion today. The new census had been planned for 2021 but was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic and logistical challenges. Millions of government workers will be deployed to carry out the count, which will be rolled out across the country over several months. Let's bring in Mitali Nikore, economist and founder of the research group Nikore Associates. Mitali, let's talk first about the logistics of doing something on a scale as large as this. Are people really going to knock on every door in India?
I mean, one can sort of say yes, they are going to knock on every door in India, but obviously, it's a very well planned and methodical exercise. There are going to be enumerators that are going to be brought in for this exercise, and these are very local people and government employees in most cases. Think of your school teachers, your government school teachers. We also have a whole range of community health workers in India, primarily women. And I remember I recently met a health worker who works in a northern Indian state, and she told me of her experience of doing the 2011 census, and she's been again, drafted in for the 2027 census. So she's very excited, and she knows exactly how to do her job. She knows how many houses she has to go to, a form that will quickly be filled. The main difference, of course, this year is that the forms will be digital, so that is expected to expedite the counting exercise.
This may be an obvious answer, but I'm going to ask it the question anyway. Why is it important to know exactly how many people are in India?
So, I mean, it's such an interesting question, right? Why do we really need to know? We could always make some estimates, we can always decide. But I think, very honestly, as a policymaker, as a policy advisor, as an economist, I think for people like us, it becomes very critical to have a count really of the people, but not only a count, an understanding of who your country is.
Hmm.
Who are the people in this country? What kind of incomes do they have? First of all, who needs benefits? Who needs social security? Who needs that safety net? Where are they located? Where is it that we're seeing the benefits of 2 to 3 decades of growth really coming in, and where is it that where are those areas which are getting left out? And then, of course, amongst communities, be it marginalized groups like minority religions or
Hmm.
lower castes. I mean, these are groups that have historically faced structural barriers and exclusion from the country's growth. It is important to assess how they're doing.
And to that end, perhaps, I mean, censuses can often be highly politically contentious issues in places. To what extent was this census a hot button issue in India?
So I think there were a lot of unnecessary discussions around the census. I think one of the major reasons it was delayed was actually COVID-19. So
Hmm.
India has its census every year, every decade, sorry, and 2011 was the last one, and then it was supposed to be in 2021. But as we all know, 2021 was actually one of the worst COVID waves that was being seen around the world. It was simply impossible to do this kind of an exercise. The fact that it has now been picked up, it has actually accommodated for a caste census. So this is actually the first time in several decades that the different castes will again be counted and enumerated. This is a very critical exercise again for the distributional impacts of growth, which I was speaking about. So I do think that a lot of these accommodations have been made from a political lens. But honestly, the census exercise should be as depoliticized as possible because it is critical for the planning of the country's resources. How are we actually going to distribute the resources amongst different groups of the population? How is it going to, how are the social security benefit transfers going to be planned? How is the urbanization of the country going to be planned? How is the care economy going to be accounted for? I mean, I
Right.
can't even stop counting the number of areas where the census becomes critical.
India is the world's most populous country. At least that's what we think. Are you expecting any surprises in the results?
To be honest, I do think that some of the areas where we could be surprised could be on the rate of urbanization, because urbanization has moved very rapidly. It was expected that nearly 60 to 65% of the country would urbanize by 2030. But I wouldn't be surprised if, in this census, we find that number has already been reached or even exceeded. So I think that would be one data point that one is looking out for. The second one would really be around, the representation of different communities and where they're located. I'm prepared for some surprises there, because we really don't know about the migration patterns at this point. We are still, looking at the migration patterns of 2011, and I'm personally looking forward to understanding what is happening with the women of this country, because, as you know, I'm a researcher looking at women's labor force participation and asset ownership, utilization, and I'm keen to understand if the entire clarion call of women-led development that the Prime Minister has given has actually translated into real changes on the ground for women in terms of their family status, in terms of their agency, in terms of the number of children they have, and other such indicators. So it's very, very critical to see the gender lens on this census.
Mitali Nikore, economist and founder of the research group Nikore Associates. Many thanks to you.
Thank you.